Ask the Mayor with Melanie Keebler, only on News Channel 21.
We had dozens of questions submitted for the mayor this month, and city roads were the main topic. Mayor Keebler, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's start with roundabouts. A viewer asks, are there rules for signaling when driving in roundabouts?
Yes, there are. And I'm going to do a little roundabout primer here. So you do want to slow as you approach the roundabout and yield for people that are already in the roundabout. So wait until it's safe to enter. You want to stop for pedestrians and for bikes who are crossing. And then when you are in the roundabout, you have the right of way, so you get to move around. You don't have to stop and let anybody in. But when you are leaving the roundabout, you do need to hit that signal and signal out. And it's really easy to remember: roundabout, signal out. So yes, there are rules about that, and that does help traffic flow better if you can signal and let people know what you're doing.
Next, a viewer asked about roadkill, saying they often see it and wonder if the city has a plan for dealing with it to make sure it doesn't become a hazard for drivers and cyclists.
Yeah, I think it's seasonally. Sometimes we see more or less depending on how our animals are moving around town. But you can call our Streets and Public Utility Department, 541-317-3000. Or you can fill out a customer service request at bendoregon.gov, and you go to our service tab, and that's going to alert our crews to come out and take care of that. And either we take care of it, or sometimes the sheriff animal control will take care of it too.
Okay, great. This question may be the most simply stated, but certainly has no easy answer. Why is rent so high in Bend?
Top question for constituents in Bend. The fundamental reason is not having enough homes for people who want to live here. It's really fundamentally a supply and demand problem, and that means workers, families, seniors, everybody here who deserves to have an affordable place to live is having trouble finding one or finding one they can afford. So just to put a number on that, we have statistics and population forecasts. What we do is compare people who are living here now and who are going to live here in the future to our homes, and we're about 5,000 homes short right now in Bend, and that's why you see some of those really high prices. For the state, we're about 140,000 behind. So, really appreciate our governor's push for housing and sort of getting housing built on an emergency basis. And in the city, we're trying to do our part to incentivize smaller homes, multifamily homes, to actually put our money into affordable homes that are for people with lower incomes and keep tackling this problem.
This next question is primarily a safety issue in the warmer months. Why don't I see enforcement when people jump off bridges into the river?
So it's important to know there is an ordinance that it is not legal to jump off the bridges into the river, and that's for safety reasons. We really don't want anyone to get hurt, either landing on someone who's floating or just getting hurt while jumping into the river with not being able to see what's below you. So the best place to make a report about people who are bridge jumping is with our park stewards. A lot of times, as you see in the video here, it's young folks primarily. We have done our part to help try to educate and help contribute to putting up plaques and signs, make sure people know what the rules are, and maybe parents as well, to, make sure to remind your kids the hazards there. But the park stewards are the first stop for people to want to report this.
Okay, great. Back to the topic of roads for the next question. A viewer asks why they see so many unpaved roads within city limits.
So we have about 900 lane miles overall that the city takes care of, and we've got about 4 or 5 miles that are city streets that are unpaved streets. There are also private streets in Bend that may be unpaved that are the property owner's responsibility and not the city. So you may see more than 4 or 5 miles, and we have a funding structure that's pretty limited. We want to make sure we're keeping our good roads good, and it's pretty expensive to bring a gravel road up to pavement. So right now we've been focusing especially on our busy roads, keeping those good, keeping those paved. And as we bring in additional revenue and work on our transportation fee, part of what that will pay for is getting back to some of these roads that have deteriorated and bringing them up to that pavement standard.
And finally, a viewer expresses concern St. Charles is considering dropping Advantage plans for health insurance. What can be done, and does Bend need another hospital?
So we really appreciate St. Charles as the anchor of our kind of healthcare community here in Bend, and I think everyone can agree that everyone here should have access to quality healthcare. St. Charles is an important part of our community. They're a really large employer. They're not the only healthcare provider, but they are the only hospital and really central to our health system. So I get the concerns. I've heard from constituents about that. I just want to make sure people are clear, nothing has changed right now about your coverage. And the St. Charles is still going through negotiations with the healthcare providers and hopes to find a good resolution that's going to work for everybody. This isn't an issue that I'm in control of, but I have talked with leadership at St. Charles, and hopefully they're going to be able to find the right solution. They wanted me to make sure everyone knows that Medicare open enrollment is starting in October, and that there are people that can help you with questions about your program or your health insurance and what you should be doing. Either Council on Aging, which is a local nonprofit, or the Senior Health Insurance Benefits Association, which is sheba.oregon.gov, does Medicare counseling. So folks have options to talk to people about what plan is right for them, and St. Charles is going to continue to find the best option for them as well.
And did St. Charles give you a timeline of when they're going to wrap up negotiations?
They did not. They are working through the fall. They'd really like to have some answers out to the public before that open enrollment starts, so they're working really hard on that.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Thanks to Mayor Keebler for coming by today. She'll be back in studio the second Wednesday in October for another Ask the Mayor segment. Remember, you can submit your questions anytime at ktvz.com.